Good evening and welcome to this edition of DeFacto Review, bringing you a weekly review of news that are shaping Mongolia. I am Aruna and with me is Jargal DeFacto.
Good evening.
We are live on Facebook at V Television Mongolia. Please follow us on Twitter, #Jargal_DeFacto. Coming up on the program. Government relaunches the National Committee on Land Renovation. Parliamentary by-election date declared invalid by the Constitutional Court. Former Minister of Construction and Urban Development found guilty of corruption. In Mongolia since the 1990s, land has been allocated randomly and without any organized system. This has been a major cause of frustration and dispute among citizens, even endangering many lives due to unauthorized use of land. The National Committee of Land Renovation was established in 2017. It held its first meeting last week, Tuesday. The committee discussed short-term coordination of urgent tasks to systematize and unify the registration of land use and ownership. Land use and ownership is a major problem. It is very difficult in Mongolia everywhere. What is the main purpose of the National Committee on Land Renovation, and are they proposing a long-term vision for this problem or just a short-term fix for a reoccurring problem?
Well, this land renovation so-called committee is not a structured one. It is now under the Prime Minister competency. But the idea of land management coordination is very old in Mongolia, in democratic Mongolia. And since 2000, Mongolia was able to have all the cadastry and maps of all Sums, Aymaks, and Ulaanbaatar city. But the only issue was it needed to be approved as it was. Mm-hmm. But because the issue was under the one ministry, all ministry was taking on pie in the solutions. Like the Ministry of Agriculture would prefer having certain lands for agriculture purpose, mining for mining purpose. In particular, there was always an issue of, say, where to mine, where not to mine, where is the reserved territory, etc. And there was always problem with coordination of decisions related to land. Mm-hmm. In Ulaanbaatar, even worse. Mm-hmm. So this Prime Minister luckily started to have this committee working, and they had this meeting. Mm-hmm. But whether they can solve the issues for long term, it is questionable, because we have seen many committees, many laws in Mongolia that are remaining on the paper. And unfortunately, it may be so in this case, because based on the many previous committees, working groups, many works are just staying not implemented. And in particular, this committee, land and water, their possessions, whose ownership they're under, all of so important issues for development of any country. Mm-hmm. Those countries who could not solve the issue properly had always, first, allowed corruption, second, instability, third, in some cases, in some countries, you could have easily civic war, because this is the base of development, base of any prosperity of any country. So this time, what they did was they have coordinated all land-related agencies, ministries, and now this will work under the Prime Minister. Mm. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. What are the most urgent actions that this committee is going to take?
Well, the urgent action related to land in Mongolia was always to make clear, to have inventory of land. Any piece of land belong to what organizations. That's the inventory first. So that's called registration. The second is who owns it, property issue. Third, who possesses it, who use it. These 4 different things are not clearly made on many issues, so-called public property in the country, including the land. And that unclear, blurry border in between these 4 processes make good soil for corruption in Mongolia, which is successfully used by Mongolian politicians. The best example is Ulaanbaatar city. Take this bogged mountain in the south of the city, northern fall, and all valleys of these bogged mountains are clear example of Mongolian state corruption. It's supposed to be, it is protected land. It's we say also sometimes it's the almost 800 years old protected land. But who is protecting from whom? Now we need even the supposedly Minister of Environment, Natural Environment, supposed to protect our land. No, now we need to protect our land from this ministry, because different administration of each ministry was giving that land under the table to close their cronies. And now they are selling piece by piece all this land, and they are also from that revenue somehow give money to their political parties, whoever is in power, unfortunately. So that's the clear example of how Mongolian land, urban land are misused. The other thing is about this land for herds, which is pasture land, or land for agriculture. Cultivations. We grow flour, wheat, but from time to time the herdsmen just let the herds go into their land and destroy. So this sort of issues are, so many of them are so much accumulated in Mongolia that we need finally a solution on that. That's why we need clear database of all lands, which is not. There are databases separately, but they are not interested to get together. So that easier to sell under the table our most important property.
The authority on issuing licenses for land use and ownership is as the Asia Foundation names it, one of the top sources of corruption in Mongolia. Do you think this national committee will combat corruption in this
Well,
issue?
hopefully, but I'm not sure, because if they will truly deal with the corrupt officials, they have to do a lot with their own party corrupt officials, which no power, no government can do it with these 2 political parties, Democratic Party and People's Party, who are either together or alone run the country, the power. So I have very big doubt on that this current government and current political system consisting of these 2 political parties is able to deal with these issues. But good thing is they are raising at least what we need to do. At least they try to do. But however, if we don't solve the issue of land property, Mongolia will not be developed. Corruption will not be ended. So it's so critical issue.
Let's discuss our next topic regarding the parliamentary by-election. 13 political parties are approved to compete for the parliamentary by-election to newly represent around 22,000 citizens in the Xinjiang. This special election was announced in July of 2018 and scheduled for October 7th of this year. However, on Wednesday last week, the Constitutional Court declared this date invalid because, according to law, public servants are supposed to be given 6 months' notice so they can resign and run for the elections. So the next possible date is likely to be June or October of 2019. 19. So in this case, there are 3 SOMs or 3 counties in Hinti Amak province which is a considerable portion of the electorate. If postponed, if this election is postponed, these people are going to remain without a representation for another year and a half. What are the chances for this by-election being held on time?
I doubt that this by-election will be held on time from the beginning, because the following: the ruling party, People's Party, which has 65 seats out of 76 of unit-chamber parliament of Mongolia, who is running the country now, ruling power, they will have very difficult time if the re-election is by-election will be happening. Why? Because in this Hinti Amak, 42nd districts of the electorate, the former deputy who was elected from there had now accused for raping. And it's the first case where Mongolian parliament member is accused for raping. And this political party, if they put their own candidate again for the next by-election in the district, they will have a big challenge on one side. The second, because it's midterm elections, it will certainly give the tone of political balance, power balance in the society, which is not in favor of the ruling party. So they are interested not to have this by-elections, and they find the reason through this, I believe, through this constitutional court, any reason to have not organized that elections.
Why so? What is the reason behind not organizing this election?
Because this People's Party will not have any chance to win, just simply because the previous guy, their candidate, is the criminal, raping a woman. So that's why they will lose their face, as we say. One, why you would organize when you are ruling party an election when you know a priori that you will lose? One. Second, there will be one additional member from any political parties. These 13 political parties we are talking about will be another color or another voice in the parliament for the next 2 years. So they will find many reasons not to organize these elections. The other thing is, very important thing is, even they announced, as you said, June 30. It will be next year, 2019. It will be a year before the next elections, which is too short time for another by-election. So they will find zillions of reasons not to have these elections. Another thing I want to notice is this constitutional court. At many times, these constitutional courts work not for the people, they work for the parliament, the power who is in majority in the parliament. There are zillions of cases which can prove that approach. Why? Because this constitutional court is itself violating, for example, Mongolian law. We talked about the land. They have their headquarters office in Zaisan, in this protected area where illegally land was given. And they took the land, they made the palace there, and they are staying there. How you can be the prime violator of the law and yet demand other people to follow all laws, including the constitutional court? So people have not very much confidence in this constitutional court and any decisions they make. At the end, the parliament will have a final say, yes or no, about this decision of the constitutional court. I'm sure that they will accept gladly their decisions, and I think there will not be any more by-elections.
Are there any candidates from Hinti Amak themselves?
Good questions. Probably all these 13 parties will try to put candidates from the same area, Hinti Amak, in the eastern Amak, one of the eastern Amaks of Mongolia. But the very interesting thing is, the woman who Miss Muktsitsek, who supposedly is a public officer, who wants to run for that elections. It's not clear which political party she belongs to first, and it's not clear whether she is from the Daemak or not. The news, the Constitutional Court is not giving any information about these two important moments. And at the end, the question comes, if the Constitutional Court, that would be the decisions I would find. Is it a matter of one public officer who wants to run and who has not enough time for running by law, or it is the interest of 22,000 voters who are remaining without their representation in decision-making bodies of Mongolia?
Exactly.
So you need to compare, right?
Yes.
Which one is priority? But by our law, looks like it is difficult, and plus, I think this Constitutional Court will not compare the interest of these 22,000 voters and then a woman who wants to run for elections. So that's a very clear picture of our political landscape in Mongolia.
But the nation expects for this by-election to be held on time, because it is very important, and this should not be held back because of one politician. Is there a more efficient way to resolving this question?
That will be discussed at the Parliament session soon, in early September at their fall sessions. But I think most probably they will not allow the next by-election to be held, because if they will run, their candidate, People's Party candidate, will not win. That will be a good case to discuss further the current issue of corruption in case of 60 billion tugriks they wanted to raise by selling public positions. And the head of the political party, who is the speaker now, was refusing to be a part of it. Recently, last week or so, they said, yeah, I was there, but sorry for causing all these problems, which is already one step, but it shows major fractions inside of the People's Party. And that by-election will put oil on the fire there. So that's by all means they don't want to have it.
Let's discuss our last topic regarding a corruption case.
Before we go that, remember this, the political party People's Civic Will is not registered, remember?
Yes. What happened?
What happened was we have a Mongolian General Election Committee. That committee decided that this Civic Will party is not allowed, not permitted to be part of that by-election, because they did not submit their financial report of last elections on time. And it's a very funny thing. Why? Because if the other political 13 parties have submitted, where are their reports? They don't declare it on their website. Why? Are they keeping it for their own use? No, it's for public. It should be there on their website. And they deliberately don't post this information because it's a fake information, which is not audited by third party, which was in case of all political elections in the country. They never declared the true picture of how much was the cost of the election. So by doing that, this Mongolian election committee is cooperating with the corrupt officials, because by not disclosing their political party financing, they are supporting corruption in the society, which is where the main source of corruption in Mongolia is political party financing. So what we were suggesting was the people were now asking more, having general electorate committee instead of general election committee, where these politicians, representative of two political parties, are one is head, the other is deputy head. Instead, if we have this electorate committee, then we can have non-partisan people on the top of that committee, which will be easier for people to control the political parties' financing and election financing. So that's the reason. Also, they have cut that one party, and by all means, I don't think that there will be by-elections in the country.
So it sounds like they are keeping that party away from running because it's a powerful
they just
party.
pretend to do their jobs. You know, they should find somebody to go out and to make more noises. In fact, when every political parties don't declare their report, if they declare, they keep in secret the election committee.
Shall we discuss our
Sure.
third topic?
Yep.
Former Minister of Construction and Urban Development, Mrs. Bayanselenge, was indicted with charges including misuse of power and $400,000 in damages on Wednesday last week. In 2015, she approved herself to purchase 720 apartments from a private company called Bidding Group for $6 million from the state budget as part of her initiative called Housing for Rent. This initiative was aimed at reducing ger districts and renewing the urban plan in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar, sorry. Former minister said, Mrs. Bayanselenge, she said that it was set up by political oppositions. So the question is, why is this case being raised now?
Yeah, it's a good question because it's a midterm election, as we said, and it was going to this political party where she is from, Mongolian People's Revolutionary Party, which is the name of the People's Party, old name. And the fraction who didn't like that took away the name, and they have a political party where the head is former President, Mr. Nambar Inkbayar. And this is a substantial next political power in the country, possible third. I don't think it's third power, but still a substantial power in the society. And this woman was a minister, one of the ministers during the coalition government. And while she was a Minister of Construction and Urban Development, she, without tender, allowed these private companies, the government buys from them this amount of money, with this amount of money, that 720 apartments, residential apartments for rent. And now she says that, look, there's no victims. State bought state apartments from private sector, and that state apartments are used now by public, which is nothing wrong, and there is no victims. However, the people demanding the information whether she was herself involved in conflict of interests, as people say, if she got apartments for their own relatives or not. This sort of issue is not clear. The court is not making a statement on that. If she is not, if or her relatives did not receive apartments directly, it's also not one question raises. What was she wrongdoing? Yes, there was no tender. So that's the first wrongdoing. Second, about this 900 million 2 weeks, or you say $450,000, is valuation differences by independent company, and she says that that is not. Professional people were estimating the valuation. But, so this is the difference of valuation, otherwise it could be that much higher or less expensive, that amount of money, the whole apartments. Now she is considered, now the court decided that she will pay some 19 million 2 weeks, multiplied from the minimum age amount, minimum wage salary in Mongolia, and people find this one is too soft. So, but the issue is not the penalty was good or not low or not high. The issue is the whole system, how much is corrupt. And now I'm asking myself questions. If she was a member of the two running large political parties, then will she have the same penalty or not? Is a question for me. Looks like she will not, because the members of these two ruling parties, which now rules People's Party, but the Democratic Party, they are either in turn or together in coalition run Mongolia. So if you were a member of, if this woman was a member of this one of the two political parties, she will not be indicted like this. Why? Because many officials of these two political parties are never charged with for corruption cases. They must arrested for a few months, then the arrested person start to feel bad, of course, sitting in one room in a prison. Then they go to hospital, then shortly they are released. So that's the true picture of how Mongolian government is combating corruptions. And the court is working very strong for those people who are not cooperating with the current power.
Sounds like a very convenient and timely political maneuver by
It is. But I also hear, I mean, there's a Chinggis bond, Khobilayev bond, with big names bonds, and it's not clear how this money, which made us so much indebted, we paid a lot of money for just interest rate of those money, and we don't see the clear report of the government how much and where and how these big money, $2–3 billion were used. So the state is not giving the clear report, and yet they are giving to this woman a certain penalty because she does not belong to two political parties.
The former minister, she's also said that this is because she revealed a cabinet closed session regarding the 49% ownership of Irnet company that was purchased from Russians by a private Mongolian company. And is this related to this case, do you think?
Yeah, when she was in opposition, but when she was a cabinet member, all this purchase happened. And she revealed before the Prime Minister Z.Bayanselenge announced it, ironically, a day before election at 6 o'clock. It was the last drop on the loss of Democratic Party for the elections. And yeah, she was giving certain information about purchase of this Russian shares by a Mongolian company, which is okay. I mean, Mongolia has bought shares of the joint venture with Russia. It's good to private company. But only people's concern is with whose money it was bought, not the saving deposits of the customers of the Trade and Development Bank. For a second, why the government would not make transparent all these transactions. So that's the people concerns is. So it could be somehow related to her revealing this information.
Sounds like she's dodging the question by making people turn attention to a different corruption case.
Like any politicians who, the politicians all around the world, when they are found guilty of corruptions, they always say it's politically motivated. That's one of the cases. But true is, she also has done all these transactions without any tender. She decided to give.
Is that possible?
Looks like it's possible in this country, and it was. I mean, there were so many other cases similar to that, which was not coming to this level of court decisions before, because those cases were associated with the powerful people of two ruling political parties.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you very much, and see you next week on the same channel at 8 o'clock, and our program was also on Facebook Live with television. Thank you for staying tonight with us.